What is going on, everybody? It is episode 772 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett, and I am here once again with my co-host. Introduce yourself, please.
Hello, crisis actors. It's Mary. I hear that there's some kind of religious war occurring in the chat right now. Not really sure what's going on, but can everyone just get along?
Seriously, bro.
Once in a while,
You're
it would be
bringing
nice.
the vibe down in the room.
No, actually, we do have a really great chat, surprisingly wholesome chat when you look at other shows.
Most of the time, yes. Oh, yeah.
IRL.
I mean, there have been times where I've accidentally looked at the IRL chat while I was on the show and then, put on my hazmat suit.
Yeah, it's pretty toxic. Ours is surprisingly nice, and everyone has a little culture of their own in the chat.
See, my favorite is so they spend the whole time being mean to Tim, and then when Tim is gone, they're like, oh my gosh, where the hell is Tim? Get him back. These guys are awful.
99% of people that watch IRL every night have this weird love-hate relationship with Tim, or at least based on the comments that I see. Mm-hmm. They either hate his guts or they hate losing him. There's no in between.
They can't do it without him.
Yeah, really though. But he is back as of yesterday, so
yeah,
that was cool. I was on IRL last night, in case you missed it.
How'd that go?
Went well. I mean, I didn't have a lot to contribute to a conversation about tariffs and free trade, but we did have a really good episode of The Green Room, which was a defunct sideshow for a while. Now they're bringing it back. I talked to Terry Schilling, who was the guest last night, about surrogacy and OnlyFans and religion and gender and just a whole lot of things behind the paywall. So if you're interested, check it out. We have a 20 from Colton Lang, longtime lurker, first-time super chat. Love the show. Also love when you have Phil on the show.
Well, we love
that too.
We love it when a lurker joins in the live, and thank you for that. And Phil will be on Thursday, as always, to bring some class. To bring some class and some clout to this show. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Guys, we got a bunch of stuff to get into today, but before we get started, would you hit the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel if you are new here and have not subscribed here yet already, especially perhaps if you tuned in last night to watch Mary live and then this is your first time watching. We would ask that you subscribe to the channel because it is the best way to help the channel grow outside of the other thing that you can do, which is to share these episodes and segments out with your friends and your family and your loved ones, the people in your life that you like, the people in your life that you don't like, and even if you have a mortal enemy, you should share it with them as well. Perhaps you can bridge the gap between the two of you by sharing our content and talking about it. So we've got a bunch of stuff to get into. We are going to talk about the Buffy reboot. Yes. I don't know if excited is the right word, but we'll discuss it. I've been rewatching some Buffy lately anyways, so it's relevant. So we're going to talk about that. We are also going to talk about the ongoing lawsuit between Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively, and Ryan Reynolds. We're going to talk about the website that Justin Baldoni launched. We're going to talk about the inferences with the judge saying that Blake Lively cannot choose who deposes her, on top of a bunch of other stuff. We are also going to talk about how all of this is affecting Ryan Reynolds in Hollywood. We're also going to talk about Bianca Censori. If you remember yesterday, we covered all of the absolute hullabaloo around the Grammys, and one of those things was the vile showing of nudity from Bianca Censori, who, look, it's one thing if you're doing that in the privacy of your own home. Doing it in a public setting where there's kids around, literal children around, probably isn't something that should be praised, but she is not going to be censured. That's the actual word they used. She will not be censured by the Grammys, and there will be no punishment. So we're going to talk about that. We got a bunch of other stuff. If you're ready, Mary, we can just go. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go.
Well, let's go ahead and get started then, guys. So there has been announced that a Buffy the Vampire Slayer reboot is a go over at Hulu. It will feature Sarah Michelle Gellar returning as Buffy, but she will not be, at least from everything that we've seen here, she will not be the main character, rather returning for a recurring role, as I'm sure they are going to crown a new Slayer and use her to pass the mantle, which actually fits here a little bit more than it does in some other instances, because they talk about It's literally right in the opening dialogue for the show where they say every generation has a Slayer. I'm sure generation was supposed to mean longer than like 25 years, but there's at least some precedent narratively that you could go ahead and do that. So let's go through the article first, and then I'll share my feelings on it. Because what I did, Mary, you understand, when we get something like this that I actually care like a lot about, I start furiously writing notes, and then they're really disjointed and out of place, and it's kind of like my brain just kind of vomits all over the page. But let's go through the article and get the facts down first.
So instead of Joss Whedon, they have sisters Nora Zuckerman and Lila Zuckerman writing the plot because Joss Whedon is a toxic jerk who creates a hostile work environment for his underlings.
The very first thing that people are going to have a problem with here is the lack of involvement from Joss Whedon. Yes, we understand that he is ostensibly canceled in Hollywood, and you cannot have Joss Whedon writing stuff these days. He hasn't done anything since like 2021, something that ran episodes until 2023. I even forget the name of the show. But as soon as all of this stuff came back out, he was persona non grata again. But the problem is the voice of this show is uniquely Joss Whedon, and he is one of those writers that, unfortunately for them, is gifted enough where they call it Whedonisms, and mimicking his writing is something that is not going to be taken kindly on by people that will smell a fake a mile away.
It's also a style of dialogue that is quite dated now.
So, but here's the thing. If he wants to bring it back and try to play on that, that's fine. But having somebody else try to mimic that when we're not in the Gen X... Well, one of the things that struck me the most about the show, it's... I know that Buffy, I believe, is technically a millennial, but it's the most Gen X show because they're just kind of left to their own... They're just children that are left to their own devices constantly. They're going to the Bronze nightclub on weekdays.
Yeah,
they're just hanging out in the school at 2 in the morning.
Thing? Like they're not in the UK, like in America, there are nightclubs for like high schoolers.
I mean, I don't know about during the week, but look, these are the credits of Nora Zuckerman, of the sisters.
Yeah.
So Poker Face, which I did not watch, Prodigal Son. Okay, so here's the thing. They've got a good amount of TV credits here. They wrote episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., episodes of Suits, episodes of Haven, and they were staff writers on Fringe. And that's some credits, I suppose. But what's funny is Joss Whedon, prior to writing the Buffy TV show, wrote the Buffy movie, but he also did... He was one of the writers, along with John Lasseter and others, on the screenplay for the original Toy Story. So there's like already a level of excellence there that tells you how influential somebody like him was going to be with his talent, if only he didn't turn out to be such a crappy person for everybody. The first thing that I thought of, and I tweeted about this last night, so the very first scene in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, literally the first shot after they do the intro title card, is Darla sneaking into a school with this like wannabe bad boy. He used to go to this school, and they're sneaking in after hours, and she is very meek and seems to be led around by this guy who's causing her to make bad choices. You know, she's very shy. It then subverts you when she turns into the vampire who then kills him. That was subversive and a bit revolutionary in the year 1997. The problem is, in the year 2025, they're probably going to try and do the exact same thing again and pretend as if it's still subversive.
Well, they did it again, you could argue, in 2009 with Jennifer's Body.
Well, they do it a lot with his shows in general. I mean, whether we're talking about Dollhouse with Eliza Dushku, and even the creation of Angel with Cordelia, who Cordelia has perhaps my favorite character arc out of any character in the show.
You were suggesting a Cordelia spinoff instead of a Buffy reboot.
They should have done, well, no, even back then, maybe instead of putting her on Angel, and she is great on Angel, you make like a Mean Girls show, but it's starring Cordelia Chase.
What's the actress's name?
Charisma Carpenter. Great name. Charisma Carpenter. Great acting.
Great name. She should have had a supporting role in the actual Mean Girls, which came out a year after Buffy the Vampire Slayer went off the air.
Yeah, she should have. So the other thing that I'm weary about, so one of the things I love about the original series, They use really, really awesome facial prosthetics for the
I don't know if I would call them awesome. But I watched this show far more recently than you did because there was a wager set by the Crisis Actors to make me watch the first season.
It's not CGI.
I know. I don't think they're willing to do that today. But I didn't understand the appeal of it because I didn't grow up with it, and it has no nostalgia value for me.
Yes, in the chat, Moon at Noon, Firefly and Serenity are both Whedon properties as well. So the other person involved in this is Chloe Zhao. Chloe Zhao is going to direct the pilot. She, of course, directed the masterpiece Eternals from Marvel.
Does she have anything that you like?
I
looked through her credits and I didn't see
Nomadland. I don't know her work other than the Marvels.
But at the same time, you could say that wasn't
not the Marvels, the Eternals.
You could say that the Eternals wasn't entirely her fault because directors of Marvel movies, especially on that level, don't have a lot of control.
Oh, I disagree. I mean, that movie was so different from the rest of the Marvel formula that I would argue that meant that she probably had way more control. Putting sex scenes in Marvel movies and making something so boring it felt like you swallowed a bottle of Valium isn't the traditional Marvel formula. The traditional Marvel formula is campy. It's fast-paced, high or low frame rate action to make it seem faster. Like, it's great. But that's not what that movie was. That movie was a mess. But look, you can't. They're going to do the strong woman thing, right? That's fine. But the thing is you can't treat it as revolutionary or subversive anymore. It has to be done as a matter of course. You can't do it as if you're, breaking the mold like they did back in 1997.
Well, most of the takes that I've seen so far, which are skeptical of their ability to do this the right way, are not mentioning those tropes. They're actually coming up with a much different reason. They're worried about Buffy being set up with a love interest. They're worried about the format of the show being ruined because it's not being aired on television.
Yes, so that's a big part of it, right? As we know, is that they're going to want to do a limited run. First of all, Sarah Michelle Gellar's not going to want to come back for 22 episodes.
No.
She's older now. She's probably got better things to do.
She's a mom.
She just did Dexter Original Sin, and she's in like 6 episodes of that or something like that. She doesn't need to come back for 22 episodes a year. I would love that. I would love for them to go back to the 22 episode formula. No. I don't want a freaking limited series.
They said, just realized it's 2025, so that means the Buffy revival will have 7 episodes and a new season every 3 years.
Yeah, and the problem is if the new Slayer is supposed to be like a freshman in high school, right? You can't come back 3 years later and suddenly she's Millie Bobby Brown and 20 years older.
Yeah, and the remaining question is who will be that person? Like, who can play that person that
you
takes
can't,
the mantle?
You can't really bring back Spike or Angel because they're vampires, and David Boreanaz and James Marsters aren't in their 30s anymore. They're in their 60s now. They don't look like they did. No. They're certainly not ageless. I guess you could write a way to bring them back in where they've been turned human. But even then, that's such a break from the formula that nobody's going to want that.
No, but who is going to play the next Slayer?
Oh, I don't know. That's if they really wanted to subvert, they'd make it a guy.
That's true.
If they really wanted to be subversive, they would make it a guy. Make him gay. If you must be Hollywood, you can make him gay.
Oh, no. We have a 20 from Pop Culture Junkie. Whedon's final show was The Nevers, a sci-fi drama that had a first season that was actually quite good. Very steampunk. The second season was shot but never aired. Another David Zaslav tax write-off with the Roadrunner movie.
Yeah, that's after the resurfacing of all the allegations against him, they just canceled it, from what I remember. Yes.
Well, do you think they're just going to get Jenna Ortega to do it because that's the obvious choice?
Yeah. For Buffy, like the low
they're
episode
just having her
commitments.
do everything now.
Everything, yeah.
That's anything like this. If it has anything to do with like witches, vampires, monsters, or
I saw
whatever.
Buffy Summers as so. One of the things about Buffy Summers is that she, but people are like making fun because it's the gay guy. They would totally make him the Slay, or they would
Slay Queen. The gay vampire slayer.
I'm just
like,
saying, I don't think they did it with Willow and stuff too, right? Like, I don't think that they would, like, if they really wanted to be subversive, a straight white male Buffy vampire slayer would be hilarious.
We have another 20 from Not So Secretly Based. Got to say it. I love my suitcase.
Me
too.
So the point being that what the thing about Buffy was a traditionally attractive girl who hung with Cordelia at first and could have been part of the cool girls club, but was nice to Willow. And I don't think Jen Ortega is not an unattractive person, but she's not coded as high school mean girl. Do you know what I'm saying?
She has like a Katie Heron.
Yeah, she is not coded the way that Buffy was coded and then broke the mold on. Again, another interesting case in point is, what are they going to do with the character? Will they bring back other actors in the show? Like, how do you do Xander in the year 2025? So one of the things I thought was funny about it, again, I decided to rewatch the first 3 episodes last night. One of the things is Xander is obviously, he has no powers. He's kind of wimpy, but he gets his moment in episode 2 where his friend Jesse has been taken by vampires, and even though he knows it's a horrible idea, he goes with Buffy to save him, which, allows you to see him in the light beyond just being the butt of the joke. How do they do that? I don't think that they have the deftness in the writing to do that in the year 2025. I think they would hammer it home. They would hammer it over the top of your head that he has to be some archetype.
You're extremely overestimating how much they're going to be focusing on the original cast rather than a replacement cast. I would love to see them at least bring. No, I'm saying like as far as like an archetype for who will be his replacement in the next one. So they'll probably have an archetype of someone like him in this. But they don't really need to.
It would be good
if
they
don't need to just paint by numbers what the original was, right? If you're reviving it, you should have new characters. They're not just going to pick a new vampire slayer who has the same personality as Buffy. That would be stupid.
Yeah. So I guess I just the episode length is a real problem. One of the things
I want to know your take on this, though.
On what?
There's no Buffy take I hate more than Spike or Angel being her end game. Buffy ends the show and comics without a romantic interest, and even has a whole monologue about it, and turns to friends for community. That's one of the key messages of the show. Let it be that. Do you agree?
I don't think they'll come back to it in this. I think like Buffy and Angel was a great through line when they're younger, or when she's younger. Technically, he doesn't age.
Oh, right.
Right? Like that's a great story early on. I never liked, for instance, I was never a fan of Darla and Angel as a storyline. I hated the flashbacks in Angel. I thought that they slowed down the plotting of the show. But to the point there, 22 episodes did them a huge favor. If you go on IMDb and you look up Buffy the Vampire Slayer, there is just pages of trivia. And I'm talking pages of trivia on every single episode. It built this fan base because the lore was so deep, and there was just this amazing breadth of material to look at. And if you turned it into a limited series, it doesn't stand out anymore. It'll be just like every other show that gets brought back. They brought back Leverage as a series. Leverage is that show with Timothy Hutton, which they didn't bring him back for the revival. And they had to, and they couldn't get Aldous Hodge back, so they had to pass the mantle to his sister that you never hear about, and stuff like that. And passing the mantle in general, even if it does make sense in this story, doesn't sound fun. All it sounds like is corporate slop. They're like, here's this IP we own. We have to turn it into something. We paid $8 gazillion for 20th Century Fox. Why let it sit on the shelf? And that's going to be in the back of the mind. The people who love this show do pay attention to that stuff. They are the ones who look at your trivia section. They are the ones who pay attention to the comings and goings of these types of shows. It won't have the critical success that the original one did, because the original version of the series had both diehard fans and broad appeal because it was a show on network television back in the 90s, which means that just more people in general were all tuned into one place. This is just going to fall by the wayside, and it won't have any of the magic that the original one had before. And all of this discussion doesn't really matter because that was true the moment that Joss Whedon wasn't involved, unfortunately. Sad that he had to be such a weirdo.
I don't even know if he was a weirdo or if he was just being mean to people because he needed to get a job done.
I know that the big statement is like he was never allowed alone in a room with Michelle Trachtenberg.
Yeah, because he would be mean.
Yell at her and stuff like that.
So what? Like a big whoop. I've heard way worse things about things that go on in Hollywood than that he's a big meanie. But aside from that, the only part of this that surprises me is that they didn't do it sooner, because they're bringing everything back. Even things that I watched when I was a kid are getting rebooted before Buffy gets rebooted. That's a strange life cycle for IP.
This was a really interesting one. So there was like a 2019 reboot of this announced where that they were going to race swap Buffy, and it was the first time that like millennials who yelled at Gen Xers for caring about race swaps had a taste of their own medicine. Where they were like, there were articles written by like mainstream publications like, why would you do that? Why would you race swap Buffy? That doesn't make any sense.
Wait a minute.
Written by ostensibly the same people who would tell Gen Xers like, why do you care that your favorite character is being race swapped?
Is Buffy more of a millennial thing or a Gen X thing?
I saw people arguing on.
Is
about
Sarah
that.
Michelle Gellar Gen X?
I would imagine that
she's Gen X.
I imagine she is, but I imagine that her like the stuff that she was in, like if I think about I Know What You Did Last Summer or Cruel Intentions, those were movies from my early teens and childhood. So
yeah,
I was 11 when I Know What You Did Last Summer came out, and so I would have been 13 when Cruel Intentions came out. So those were parts of my childhood, and I'm an older millennial on the cusp of Gen X.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there just isn't the laissez-faire, go out till the streetlights come on mentality that existed. I don't want to see helicopter parents in the Buffy universe. I want to see hippie mom summers. And
do you think they're going to set it? I don't know how they
current year. They have to set it in current year if she's passing the mantle.
Yeah. So you're going to have smartphones in the Buffy universe, and that just sucks.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that. Nobody asked for it.
We'll have to wait and see. Yeah. All right. Let's move on.
The trailer for Electric State, a new Netflix movie from the Russo brothers, starring Millie Bobby Brown and Chris Pratt, just came out. They released a new clip from the movie, and the first responses that I saw to this clip were trashing Millie Bobby Brown for lowering herself to even be a part of such slop as this. First off, Evan Romano on Twitter said, the combination of Millie Bobby Brown's apparent star level and her clear and obvious disinterest in making any kind of art or anything that's actually good has become quite off-putting.
It's my favorite part.
Is that like a reason to be a fan of Millie Bobby Brown?
It is 110%.
Because film nerds online hate her for having this apparent lack of taste in film and cinematography.
I want her to be the bane of letterbox writers everywhere.
Well, someone else had a really good point. Why would she have such astute taste in films? Sorry, I don't care if Millie Bobby Brown doesn't care about movies. If I were forced to be the sole breadwinner to my entire family at age 12 and forced into an insane Netflix contract, I would also not care about films as art and just see them as a quick buck.
Yep.
And I can't blame her either. Another person said the career Millie Bobby Brown is having is actually a direct consequence of not watching movies. It's been almost a year since Millie Bobby Brown said she doesn't care about movies in an interview, and people are still harping on it and using it to trash her. In fact, back when Winona Ryder was on the promotional tour for Beetlejuice, she was praising Jenna Ortega for her incredibly astute and precocious taste in films, and she has all of these obscure references that she can make. Simultaneously, the second season for Wednesday is getting promoted right now, alongside Electric State, another Netflix project. I don't think that Wednesday is like the epitome of high art in, movies or television, but that's just my take. But Winona Ryder was clearly saying this as a pointed remark to compare Jenna Ortega to Millie Bobby Brown as this anti-intellectual who doesn't care about the artistic side of her work and only cares about taking a job and selling her makeup brand and her loungewear brand on the side.
What's funny is this kind of becomes a topic of discussion where we've had this discussion before, where men who talk about taking a role just to pay the bills get applauded for it, and women somehow get denigrated for it. Remember we talked about this?
Who said that?
I don't remember who the guy was, but we talked about this. I think it had to do with Rachel Zegler. But we talked about some guy.
Oh, her referring to Shazam. She was asked why she took the role in Shazam and admitted that she's not a comic book fan and that she just needed a job.
I support that. That's the smartest thing that she ever said.
Yeah, and that didn't require her to say like, oh yeah, I hate DC, I hate comics, I hate my character, and everything about it. She didn't say any of that. She did take that liberty when talking about Snow White, which was her major misstep. Yeah. But there is nothing wrong, I think, with the mentality of just approaching it as your trade, what you do for a living, and not as some kind of service to the humanities.
The bigger issue is when the studios get involved and tell these people not to research the characters. And that does happen.
Well, that helps with something like Electric State, where there is no lore and IP it's based on.
It's a book, right? I thought it was based on a book.
Was it?
Yeah, it's based on a book.
Had you heard of it before they announced the movie?
I mean, I don't buy that the Russo brothers
because nobody
creative.
had heard of Bullet Train before the movie came out.
Nobody believes the Russos are that creative.
Literally, no one had heard of Bullet Train, the graphic novel, before Bullet Train, the movie, came out.
Somebody in the
so
chat
it's a similar situation.
Somebody in the chat will correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that Electric State was a book. Not a before.
I would just like to go back to Millie Bobby Brown's original comments about this and her apparent disdain for the art of cinema. Here in an interview promoting Damsel, her other Netflix movie from last year, Millie Bobby Brown said, "I don't watch movies. People come up to me and say, you should definitely watch this movie. It would change your life." And I'm like, how long do I have to sit there for? Because my brain and I don't even like sitting for my own movies.
I love it. I fucking love it so much. That's
we have another
awesome.
20 from Zach Hates YouTube. Brett, I just started watching Suits last night. First 2 episodes were pretty great. Didn't know Meghan Markle was an actor. She's okay in the show. It's like a cross between House, Limitless, and Better Call Saul.
If you like Limitless, the TV show Limitless, which everybody should go and watch, I believe it is on Paramount Plus right now, you should watch High Potential on Hulu. It's very, very good, and its editing style and narrative structure takes a bit of the formula from that in a show called Endgame with Sean Doyle.
Thank you. We do have another 20 from Sarah G. Wasn't happy with Mary's take on Bianca. Feel like women don't take accountability. She dresses like this all the time. If she was drunk driving, we wouldn't say someone made her do it. Just wear clothes. It's not hard. I don't think you were listening, because I literally said the exact opposite of that yesterday, but we'll get more into that discussion later in the show. But anyway, continuing Millie Bobby Brown's comment, she said, her fiance, now husband, Jake Bon Jovi, is the biggest movie buff. My fiance just sits and watches movies all day, and I cannot do that.
And she just sits and listens to Bon Jovi records.
This is the one thing I can't sit down and do. But I really love Lara Croft and Tomb Raider. I love Mad Max. So I feel like I'm always channeling that inner badass. And on the rare occasion when Millie does watch a movie, she likes to multitask. She says, I just have to be doing something. So I either eat too much because I'm just bored, or have to be doing something, baking, grooming a dog, on my computer. If I'm not doing something, I just can't sit there and look at the screen for that long. It's not to say that the movie isn't epic and cinematic and brilliant, or that there aren't amazing performances. I love some of these actors. But she really has that classic Gen Z attention span that prevents her from sitting and focusing on one thing at a time.
I'll tell you, like, for me, what I've really come to realize is that's only a problem for me when it's something I've seen a million times before, where it just kind of becomes background noise and then my phone takes up most of my attention, which is not good. It's not, but I've been taking pains to try and watch new stuff, even if it's just, like for me, I have to go and usually check about 3 things out. I get about 10 minutes into a show. I'm like, nope, not for me. Try something else out. Not for me. When I'm actually watching something that I haven't seen before, then I can watch without having to look at my phone. And that's honestly a blessing, because then I'm not shoving blue light into my eyes constantly for hours at a time. So I've been trying to watch more movies lately or television shows lately without necessarily looking at my phone. But I can't do that with stuff I've rewatched. She seems to have that problem even with stuff she hasn't seen before.
Right, exactly.
Or maybe she and her husband just have different tastes in movies, and he just constantly shows her stuff that she wouldn't like.
He's watching like Soviet films or something. He's watching
that Jenna Ortega was bragging about.
Yeah, he's watching like Charlie Chaplin or like I don't
there's
even
not
know.
even any talking. Like, I can't watch this.
I don't know. I just get annoyed with myself if I can't pay attention to.
I understand.
The thing I chose to watch. Yeah. So why would I even waste my time? If I'm gonna be on my phone, I'm gonna be on my phone. If I'm going to watch something on TV, I'm going to watch that.
I mean, maybe it's kind of the same thing. Like, I don't watch a lot of podcasts. Like, I host a podcast, and I don't sit around and listen to podcasts.
Well, it doesn't require you to watch it, though. It only requires you to listen. So I listen to podcasts that are in video formats all the time without looking at the screen. I just have it going while I do chores or whatever.
I listen to a lot of podcasts that are audio only. Mm-hmm. Mostly like it's like podcasts that go through and like rewatch shows. I'm currently listening to this guy who goes through each episode of White Collar and breaks down what he believes the psychological makeup of the characters is, which I find really, 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 really interesting, because a lot of times I'm like, no, that's bullshit. Oh, that's kind of right. Which is, I kind of hate it, because then it kind of changes how I feel when I go and rewatch the show, but it's great. I like it. First of all, maybe it's because people tend to have this feeling these days that most of these actors see what they do as this high calling, this art form that's designed to change the world, and people are like, you're self-important and stupid, shut up. Whereas she's like, yeah, I don't know, just had to make some money. I mean, a lot of actors do this. Harrison Ford talks all the time. He's like, yeah, I just wanted to make some money.
Millie Bobby Brown is on the track to becoming a billionaire, because she's monetized herself as a brand, is selling products outside of just doing movies. Yeah. And I think she's going to be laughing all the way to the bank. Yeah. From what I can tell, that's her future.
Oh, maybe it goes beyond acting. Maybe she gets into producing and doing things beyond just being in front of the camera.
Yeah, and like, it's like that person said, it's not hard to believe that she became jaded by growing up in this environment. And I feel like there's this growing group of this subgroup of people who are obsessed with the concept of media literacy. They're obsessed with
everyone knows media literacy just means you don't agree with this movie that I like. It says you're watching it the wrong way.
They're obsessed with Letterboxd. Like they're people who have accounts on Letterboxd and think themselves critics when they have no expertise, or even if they do, they use it to put other people down, and they have a bunch of big words that they like to use to sound very erudite, and it's like its own little religious sect at this point, and I'm tired of these people, especially these weirdos who are getting like A24 tattoos.
Yeah, that's weird. It's why I liked Greg Owen's breakdown as to why negative reviews get more views than positive reviews, where he talks about how, like, if you do this, there's a reason why I never say, like, I never want to be like, go watch this movie because it's so expensive. I'm like, look, I liked it. Did you ever go see anything else that I saw, and did you agree with my take? I'm not here to tell you how to spend your money. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be the reason you went and saw something you hated because I said I liked it, right? Like,
still their choice at the end of the day.
All I can tell you is that it was whether I liked it or not. But he he points out, he says, look, when you give something a negative review and somebody likes it, they can just chalk that up to disagreeing with you, but it doesn't matter because they liked it, so spending their money wasn't a big deal because they ended up enjoying it. But if you say that you like something and they hate it and they go and spend their money on it, they're like, hey, bro, I got limited funds. What are you doing recommending this garbage to me? That's why I always make fun of it. I say, don't take my recommendations. I'm just going to tell you what I like.
I'm looking at the responses to Electric State, and looks like everybody is comparing it to the comic, saying it looks nothing like it.
I do know that
it cost $300 million for Netflix.
I don't know who scored this scene. I'm not going to play it because I don't want to get copyright struck. But whoever scored this scene, it's really, really bad. The music does not compute with the scene at all.
The dialogue is also corny as hell.
I'm saying, but the point is, corny dialogue can be fine if you have suitably upbeat music that goes with it. It's not good. It's not a good score to go with it. It looks fairly good, but I mean, the
Chris
robots.
Pratt has the range of a cardboard box.
The robots are like 2 syllables off from the racist Transformers from the Michael Bay movies. So, you know.
Yeah, it's just more slop. Yep. Just on a constant conveyor belt of slop.
We'll have to wait and see how that one does, but they're on their way back to Marvel anyways, the Russo brothers.
Yeah.
All right.
It looks like Elliot Page is set for a big comeback in Hollywood, which I didn't see coming. Based on my impression from interviews and other projects, it really seemed like Elliot Page was done for in this industry and not going to work in big projects with big name actors anymore. From the looks of it, this person looks unwell and quite mentally unstable. And the last thing I heard about was Umbrella Academy, where they rewrote the script to cater to Elliot Page's gender identity. But the most recent news is that Elliot Page has been cast in Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, alongside Tom Holland, Zendaya, Anne Hathaway, Matt Damon, John Bernthal, Benny Safdie, Charlize Theron, Lupita Nyong'o, John Leguizamo, Robert Pattinson, and I think they have the whole supporting cast filled out with Elliot Page, Himesh Patel, Bill Irwin, and Samantha Morton. And they have not clarified as of yet who any of these people are going to be playing, except for Tom Holland, I believe. And
no, I think there was more than that, but I don't have it pulled
Matt Damon playing Odysseus, correct?
I saw a list at one point, but I don't have that pulled up for today's episode.
Yeah, it says here that Elliot Page is a Nolan veteran, having the memorable role of an architecture grad student, Ariadne, in 2010's Inception, as well as Patel and Irwin had a voice role in Interstellar. Universal has no comment so far on the castings. It seems like it's gonna be a huge.
I mean, the budget must be enormous.
Budget
for the
based on the talent that they have, and they're also going to be using CGI.
But I suppose it's also true that like a lot of actors probably agree to work for less to be able to work with Nolan because he works with so many of the same actors over and over again, and he keeps his budget. I mean, this budget's going to be massive, but for the most part, his movies don't always come in at these huge $200-300 million budgets. Outside of like Tenet. I mean, even Oppenheimer only cost $100 million to make, and that had a lot of big name actors in it.
Zach Hates YouTube, said, I like my suitcase. New song grew on me. I knew it would. Mary's wearing the same shirt as yesterday. Thought we wouldn't notice, but we did. Name that reference, Brett.
I don't know. I feel dumb, but
definitely not wearing the same shirt as yesterday.
I never get the references when they ask me to get them in the moment.
I wear the same looking black shirt literally every day.
I will never feel ashamed for not getting the references whenever they ask for references on here.
Here were some of the responses to the casting. One person said the producers might as well throw their money in a huge pile of, they might as well light a huge pile of cash on fire. It would save themselves some time. Nolan, what was this? They said Elliot Page in a Nolan film sounds intriguing. There will be chemistry between the cast. But then another person said, this is how you throw away everyone's career.
I don't know
what has happened to casting.
What does that mean? Like, what does that mean, throw away everyone's career? Every person named in there at the top level of that casting announcement, meaning the main cast, has got such a long list of successes that it's hardly going to be the end of their career.
Quite possibly the worst casting ever, worse than Borderlands. How the F is Matt Damon going to make Elliot Page and John Leguizamo interesting? It's a tough task, definitely. Another one said, I'm out. This is such a wild decision.
Yeah, but the thing is, the trailer could come out and it could change everybody's mind.
It's probably not going to be a major role, though.
No, I doubt it.
I doubt there will be much screen time on Elliot Page.
Nolan movies are an event, so even minor castings get attention when Nolan movies come out.
Yeah. It's just some people think that Elliot Page is going to play Odysseus. That's definitely not true.
No.
I'm almost certain that I saw it confirmed it was Matt Damon. And around the same time, it was announced that Elliot Page's own production company just acquired the rights to make a TV show adaptation from a video game called Beyond Two Souls. And this is actually a video game in which Elliot Page voice acted a female character, which already has me worried about the outcome of this TV series. It says in a Deadline report, amid a resurgence of video game-based TV series with the success of The Last of Us and Fallout.
I mean, there's been a lot of, even the Knuckles TV show did well, and Sonic the movies did well. Right now, you're probably better off betting on video game adaptations. It's Super Mario Brothers. You're better off betting on...
But there are plenty of bad examples, too.
Yes, but more hits than there used to be. I mean, granted, Borderlands doesn't count. That was a failure.
And it remains to be seen how the second season of The Last of Us will be received.
We will have to wait and see.
Another popular gaming title, Beyond Two Souls, is getting a TV adaptation. Elliot Page's Page Boy Productions has acquired the rights from video game developer Quantic Dream to develop a television series. The game starred Page alongside Willem Dafoe and follows Jodie Holmes, a young woman with extraordinary supernatural abilities who becomes entangled in a web of government conspiracies and otherworldly forces. Connected to a mysterious entity named Aiden, Jodie must navigate both military exploitation and otherworldly threats while discovering the true nature of her powers. So that's the character that Elliot Page, while I'm assuming still identifying as female, voiced in the game, and they decided to make this into a visual medium. It's worrying because Elliot Page now has a track record based on Umbrella Academy. And in case any of you didn't keep track of this story or forgot about it, there was a very controversial gender swap in Umbrella Academy for Elliot Page's character, which once went by Vanya Hargreaves. This is a female character played by who was once known as Ellen Page. As soon as Ellen Page became Elliot Page, they decided to rewrite the character and write this gender transition into the show. Yeah. They made Vanya Hargreaves into Victor Hargreaves during the third season. Yeah. And this was badly received by the audience, even though it's a relatively, I guess you could say, woke audience that was a fan of this show. It still wasn't received well. And they only did this to cater to Elliot Page feeling affirmed. Yeah. And I can't imagine that this TV series for Beyond Two Souls is going to be done any differently.
I would actually, what's interesting, if we go back to the Nolan casting, it's probably so there's going to be at least a certain amount of controversy anytime Elliot Page gets cast now, but in a Nolan movie, that probably is one of the more bulletproof directors where it might be a little bit of a controversy, but his name is big enough and the project is big enough that it shouldn't affect it in the way that a lot of the people online are saying. I don't think that a huge portion of the audience, especially if Elliot Page is not featured in the trailer a bunch, unless for some reason it's just 30 seconds of Elliot. If all we see is a couple of shots of Elliot Page, I don't think that tanks this movie.
Yeah, it's just difficult to look at someone who has that much sadness in their eyes. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
It's hard to watch even these interviews that
and that's not even the controversy about the video game. It was about there was like images like of a naked Elliot Page that got. Did you read so I'll read you what the controversy was. I'll pull it back up here. It says they were embroiled in a scandal when shortly after the release, a fully nude model of Page was discovered in the game's assets while not shown or accessible during normal gameplay. A 2015 email leak indicated Page considered legal action against Beyond Two Souls publisher Sony after Quantic Dream, whose artist allegedly rendered the model without Page's knowledge or consent, declined mediation with his legal team. It's unclear how the issue was resolved. So clearly money must have changed.
It seems like that was definitely not intentional.
And money, like enough must have been done to make it worth working together again.
Yeah, a lot of people were encouraging Elliot Page back when she was Ellen Page to actually sue Naughty Dog.
Yeah.
Because the character of Ellie in The Last of Us, the way that she's rendered, looks like the spitting image of young Ellen Page. And they believed that her face was essentially stolen for the character model.
Yeah.
You can see that character bears very little resemblance to the mocap actress.
I mean, it would be if I was Elliot Page's manager, I would start getting away from activist projects. Remember, she
the last thing I remember is
was
that
the narrating the trans nature documentary.
Yeah, she narrated a nature documentary that was essentially arguing there are transgender animals.
Okay, so get away from the. I understand that the whole point, I'm sure, of starting Page Boy Productions is to make content that is to make content that matters to you, and what matters to you is a certain level of activism in your projects, and that's fine. But if you want to make money and make that imprint beneficial to you, like financially, you can't just stick to the activist realm. The best thing to do would be to get on board of projects like what Nolan is doing and hope to God that everyone doesn't boycott those projects or, make you too much of a nuclear option to cast where it just ends up causing problems. I don't think that will matter. I think Elliot Page will get work no matter what, and get in line with a bunch of projects where your identity doesn't play a role.
I saw a few more takes on the Nolan casting that were absolutely insane. One person said, putting a trans actor who has received so much hate online in a $250 million blockbuster, especially in the Trump era, is very commendable. Christopher Nolan has officially gone woke. You love to see it.
Is that what it is?
That's, I guess, that he's making a statement about where he stands on the gender issue.
Or it's because he worked with Elliot Page before.
Another person said, I'm sick of these fake movie fans complaining about this casting. Real film buffs are inherently liberals. You can't still be a conservative after seeing the world from thousands of different perspectives. It doesn't make sense unless you lack empathy and are effing retarded. Okay. And then another person was also offended they weren't casting Greeks for the Odyssey.
Yeah.
So that's a race swap right there.
There you go.
Another one said Paige, Tom Holland, Zendaya, the holy trinity of dog shit casting.
I do take issue with the person saying that you can't enjoy movies without being liberal. That's insane.
Hasn't Christopher Nolan said something to the effect of, like, I don't want my movies to be politicized?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people have statements about how they feel The Dark Knight Rises stacks up as a political statement, giving, like, Occupy Wall Street and everything going on during that time period.
Yeah.
I deign to care. I just want to watch movies and have fun. But you can enjoy movies from all perspectives and still... again, then you'd have to justify, like, are you talking about fiscal conservatives? Are you talking about social conservatives? What are you talking about here? How do you even define that term now?
I don't think even they know.
Yeah, because, I don't know what who knows even what you'd be labeled today, depending on who you are and what you believe, given the fact that the Overton window is such a mishmash of different concepts now. Like, it doesn't even matter anymore. The desire to label everyone is the worst part of all of that. So
it's just ironic that Christopher Nolan would say he doesn't want his movies affiliated with politics.
Well, no, he's talking about the themes of the movies.
Well, you know what I mean, though. Right?
I mean, I don't know if that's what he's saying. I know what you're saying, but I don't know if that's what he's saying.
It's ironic to me that he would say he doesn't want his movies associated with political movements when very clearly the act of casting an openly transgender actor, especially one like Elliot Page, who is so outspoken about it, is itself a political move.
Again, I like, you can talk about the behind the scenes politics of it, but the story itself is what I think he's referring to when he talks about that. But I think he's talking about how those stories are analyzed by people and the political implications that people put on the story choice, not the casting choice. I feel like those are, like, you could say that they're intertwined, and they are, but I think he was specifically targeting what the narrative in the story was and attaching politics to it. The Dark Knight Rises was based on it was like a mishmash of a couple of different comics. I saw somebody in the chat mentioned No Man's Land, but there was a lot of, whether it's being pro-cop because the cops all get trapped in the city by Bane, who's like a false savior to everyone. Yeah, I don't think he was referring to his casting as much as he was like how people imply the story itself.
What I'm trying to say is that the very presence of an actor like Elliot Page, who looks like Elliot Page, sounds like Elliot Page, and quacks like a duck, it draws all the attention in any scene.
We'll have to wait and see if that plays a role in this. It
completely distracts from the plot, from the character that she's playing, and every other actor on screen. Am I wrong? It's a complete and utter distraction.
Depends on how much they're in it. And again, that depends. We talk all the time about, I don't know if the average person knows or cares.
Like, I think it's inserting too much of yourself into the story.
Like, I don't know how much the average person who's going to go see The Odyssey is going to care whether Elliot Page is in the movie or not. Certainly, remember, we always talk about this the other way, where it's like, I don't know how much Anthony Mackie making stupid statements about Captain America will hurt its box office. I think that fight scene they released yesterday or 2 days ago is going to do far more damage than the stuff than the stuff that Anthony Mackie is saying. Like, when it comes down to it, if Elliot Page is not a main character in the trailer and is just a name that's on like a list of 10 zillion different A-list actors that they're going to list when they list all of the actors that are going to be in this movie, I don't think it ends up hurting this movie's box office.
No, I don't see that as a realistic threat to the movie's performance. It's just annoying.
Yeah. I think that like the way you're dissecting it would be would be an interesting thing to discuss with him about how people analyze the politics of your how they perceive the politics of your story versus how people perceive the politics of your casting. Because you don't even have to go as culture war as Elliot Page. You could talk about the fact that he likes to work with the same people over and over again. Certainly, people have made comments about Nolan's movies being too white. That has been said plenty of times before. So there's inherent politics to that, but I don't think that has to do with the narrative story.
Well, you threw a little Zendaya in there and everyone's happy.
That's how you fix it these days. That's what they say.
Sprinkle a little Zendaya
It's on her resume. She's like, is your movie problematic? I can fix it.
Yeah.
All right. What would you like to see? Cringe or cue to the day?
I think we should start with cringe.
Okay. All right. We will start with the cringe of the day then. Here we go.
This one's, it's pretty bad.
Yep. All right.
Hey, I don't want to work. Misery Monday. I don't want to work. Misery Monday. I don't want to work.
Okay, I'm done. I won't make him watch the third time.
If I saw that in person, I would just call the cops.
Phones have destroyed the culture, right? Like, just imagine, out of all the things that people would never do without social media and access to like a phone or the camera, this is high on the list of
Throw a tantrum on the side
like
of
it's
the
one
road.
you know what this is before the age of cell phones, this is something where a guy says he threw a tantrum before coming to work but didn't actually do it. He's like, oh man, I woke up and I just hit my pillow a bunch and just pissed I had to go to work today. Now people actually have the tantrum in public. That's really sad. Okay.
It's pretty bad, right?
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of that. Somehow the coat is the worst part. I don't know why.
I think it's that it's falling off of him.
Like it's not zipped up.
Yeah. Yeah, and the sleeves are falling down. You're still processing.
Are those like blue slacks? At first I thought they were those the blue Fruit of the Loom sweatpants that you get at Target.
I would hope he's not going to work in sweatpants.
I go to work. Okay. Well, all right.
Well, alrighty then.
We're going to move on. Cue to the day. This one's from Bookstore Thor. Let's timeline cleanse here.
Yeah.
It took him a week to figure it out, but now Willie's favorite evening spot is in front of the electric fireplace.
Aw,
That is very cute.
love it.
That is very cute. All right. Remember, guys, you can submit your pets for Cue to the Day. Tag me and the show at Brett Dasovic and at popculture_show on Twitter. Sorry, X. And use the hashtag PCCPets. And I will hopefully see it and we will include it in the show.
We are diving back into the Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively feud. A judge just ruled that if the PR battle between Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively continues and it is at risk of prejudicing the jury, they're going to move up the date of the trial much sooner than March 2026. But that is unlikely to happen anytime soon, given that Justin Baldoni just launched a website for everyone to access all of the information about their lawsuit. All of their text communications, emails, everything dating back to as early as January of 2019 is now accessible to the public on this website. It's the lawsuitinfo.com. You can go to it right now if you want to and go to the entire timeline of events. And they just made this accessible to all of the internet sleuths. And what I find most interesting about this is that Justin Baldoni actually made amendments to his defamation lawsuit against Blake based on findings of just random social media users. He is using the findings of TikTokers, essentially, to pile up more and more incriminating evidence against Blake Lively. That includes the metadata that was found in images from the New York Times lawsuit, which shows that they were preparing it. Thank you. I like this especially because I am someone who really likes my suitcase. Like, I genuinely do.
You have one that you really enjoy?
I really do, yes. So he included information about the New York Times article. They included images in the article dated well before Blake Lively ever filed her complaint against Justin Baldoni, which basically proves that Blake Lively's team was in cahoots with the journalist that authored the piece, Megan Twohey.
In the chat, I just want to point out, somebody says, why didn't they request a gag order? They did.
They
and
did.
That gag order was denied.
Yes, it was, as it should have been. And they also include a new amendment to Justin Baldoni's suit that mentions Ryan Reynolds' character in Deadpool and Wolverine, Nice Pool, which is not present in any Marvel comics. It was entirely based on Justin Baldoni, and it was invented to mock him in the movie. He's in fact violently killed in the movie in front of a florist shop by Lady Pool, played by Blake Lively. Mm-hmm. It really couldn't have gotten more obvious than that, but people online pointed this out to Justin Baldoni and his team, so they decided to include that also in his lawsuit. So that's included on this website.
I saw people saying, like, why is he going so hard at her? He has to. Like, she has twice the power and reach that he does. He had to strike early, strike often.
You mentioned to me that he's financially desperate because of the amount of money that he's spending on these legal fees.
Yeah. It's not helping. I mean, other opportunities are falling through for him now.
Right.
Yeah, it says they point that out here. Lost 3 jobs and millions of dollars because of this. Now we're not going to get...
Not the
Pac-Man movie.
Oh, the humanity. I was really...
the hell am I going to do now? Frogger?
I had my heart set on that.
Frogger movie?
Frogger movie would be better than a Pac-Man movie.
Number Crunchers. Yeah.
Tetris is already taken.
Sorry, Number Munchers.
But yeah, the new website currently has 2 links on it. It has one to the amended complaint filed by Justin Baldoni and his studio against Blake and Ryan Reynolds. And the other link shows a timeline of relevant events in the case. And there were some highlights that I wanted to go through. This is like over 100 pages long, so we're not going to go through all the details. But one that I found especially interesting is a text conversation that went on between Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively regarding the iconic rooftop scene. And I actually just watched that scene for the first time this morning, and I was just flabbergasted by how bad it was. Knowing that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds were the ones who wrote it, it's all adding up for me. The dialogue is just awful. It's you should go watch it for yourself if you haven't, just to see the irony in how hard Blake Lively fought for this part of the script to be included in the final cut. But here in this text exchange, Blake Lively has a really strange way of bringing Justin Baldoni over to her side on her version of the rooftop scene. And it's funny because Justin Baldoni was getting roasted for seeming flirty to Blake Lively in his text and his voice memos, but this is really on another level that could be interpreted as inappropriate and flirty. So here's what Blake Lively said. I can send you my pass at the roof or just read with you when we get together next week. Let me know what you prefer, smiley face. If you knew me in person longer, you'd have a sense of how flirty and yummy the ball busting would play. It's my love language, spicy and playfully bold, never with teeth, and him serving it back to her is just as important. You don't usually see both the man and the woman with such agency and humor. Anyway, I can act it out for you next week to make sure it comes through.
I'm literally picturing him getting like really uncomfortable as he's reading this.
Or I can send now, let me know what you prefer, XX. And then the first thing Justin Baldoni says in response to this is a very clear rejection, a subdued rejection, but a clear one at that. That says, you know, hey, I'm a married man. I'm not interested, babe. He said, sorry, I was just crying my eyes out as my kids and family just left for another 5 weeks, and it was a shit show. He's a family man. Leave him alone, Blake. You wench. Okay, there was another detail.
Don't forget also that, like, he tried to get her to go with him to see the intimacy coordinator so they could coordinate all of this stuff. And she declined to go, and he had to go get notes and then pass those notes on to her. Remember, all of this started because of sexual harassment claims.
Right. So Blake Lively is alleging sexual harassment from Justin Baldoni, and she's also alleging that he was adding physical contact and adding sexual lines into the movie improvisation style. Like, he was allegedly touching her in ways that he wasn't permitted to touch her. And she claims that it was Justin Baldoni's choice not to have an intimacy coordinator present. However, she refused to even show up to meetings with this intimacy coordinator that Baldoni hired. So in these notes released through his website, there is included X-rated language like, quote, goes down on her, orgasm, foreplay, and the clit test, But Justin points out all of that came directly from the intimacy coordinator during their meeting.
It would be quite bold of him to come up with those terms.
So they show a screenshot from the timeline during April 21st, 2023. Baldoni meets with the intimacy coordinator to discuss how to shoot the sex scenes. It was important to him that the intimacy coordinator be a woman, because he's a male feminist, to help craft sex scenes that would speak to the book's female audience.
Well, I think he said female gaze.
Yes, to be written from the female gaze. His notes from this meeting are pictured below and were later shared with Blake Lively during one of their script meetings at her apartment in New York. These notes would later become the basis for Blake Lively's complaint, in which she states that Baldoni would talk about his own sex life and insert gratuitous scenes with Blake's character orgasming. As seen in the notes, these mentions come directly from the intimacy coordinator's notes. Yeah. Ideally, these conversations would have taken place directly between Lively and the intimacy coordinator, but that was as Baldoni requested. However, Lively declined to meet with the intimacy coordinator, leaving Justin Baldoni in the less than ideal position of having to relay the notes to Blake Lively personally. Studios require these intimacy meetings for all productions, shooting sex scenes specifically to make sure all the actors are comfortable and avoid sexual misconduct. But Blake Lively insisted in text screenshots to Justin Baldoni, "Oh, I'm perfectly comfortable. I don't really need to waste my time with that." So
never take their word for it.
Did she really think that these screenshots were just going to disintegrate into thin air?
She probably thought he just wouldn't fight back.
That's insane. That is an insane level of hubris. And there were other parts of this timeline that just showed how absolutely unhinged they have been in the midst of this legal battle. You sent me this one from January 7th, 2025. That's this year. Blake Lively attempts to serve Justin Baldoni and his team during the LA wildfires, going as far as to serve a member of Justin's team while they were attempting to evacuate their home with a small child.
Yep.
Sociopathy. Yep. And it's getting worse and worse from there. The most interesting thing about this and the fact that he has offered all of this information to the public rather than waiting for the trial to reveal it all is it shows that there's been a shift in hands for the flow of information, you know?
Meaning that the public is now as involved as anyone in how these things are dug up and then released to the public.
For better or for worse, right? Because that can obviously... There can be a whirlwind of information that just confuses people more.
That's a huge part of it for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, like for a lot of people in the chat are like, why are you still covering this? It probably also kind of feels like it runs together and all of it feels the same. But I asked you beforehand, actually I wanted to ask you now. So I kind of made the joke before. I said, look, people pretend like covering this matters. And we've made the joke before, we've made the comment before that it's lower stakes than, say, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. But you insist you think that this does really, really matter. What is your, what do you mean by that? Like, what is the true meaning of something like this? Why does it matter?
The reason it's lower stakes is because there is no allegation of violence or, sexual violence.
But what's the greater meaning by, what does it matter? For the people who might disagree, what would your argument be as to why this matters?
Because this is a marker that we are firmly in the post-Me Too era.
Okay.
And we are far past the point where anyone would be willing to hear Blake Lively's claims and immediately believe them. That era is definitively over.
Yeah.
And people have been wanting transparency. And Justin Baldoni and his legal team gave it to them. What they did with launching this website is something we've never seen happen ever before in any Me Too or Mean Too related case. And I wouldn't have predicted it, but he's clearly, there's been a shift of power from outlets like the New York Times, which have been clearly humiliated and brought to their knees.
Yeah.
And the power is now in the hands of TikTokers and people who disseminate this information on X. It's all on social media. And it's a symbiotic relationship because not only is Justin Baldoni helping the general audience for this case understand it with transparency, giving everyone all the information, exposing absolutely everything on this website, but he's also going to the internet for information that he didn't even find.
Yeah. He
didn't even include the character of Nice Pool in his original filing.
Yeah.
He didn't even know about the metadata
or the thank yous and the credits and stuff like that
to Gordon Reynolds,
that other people caught.
Yeah, he didn't even know that. People on the internet found that out. And then he didn't even find out about the New York Times colluding with Blake Lively until people on TikTok figured it out for him. So it's a symbiotic relationship that's never existed before. I didn't see even any of that type of thing going on when Johnny Depp was fighting Amber Heard legally.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like even that was more black and white. There was a time when Amber Heard had most of the sympathy, and then it just shifted overnight. But with this, it's been back and forth so many times.
I mean, I don't even think it went back and forth. I feel like early on before Christmas, or like right as the Christmas break for us started, is when the initial lawsuit or the initial claims came out. And then maybe for a little bit it stuck that way, but then it shifted very quickly. And it's been an avalanche going the other direction the whole time.
I've been seeing here and there, there's still a very small camp of people who sympathize with Blake Lively.
There's plenty of people in our chat that are on Blake's side.
Hey, if you're one of those people, I would like to hear your point of view. Like, I don't have personal loyalty to either side in this. I just think it's an interesting flashpoint in
I mean, it also became a point of discussion how, like, people from legacy media companies were shocked that conservative people were taking the side of a male feminist. I was like, that's because they don't actually care about, who he is as a person. They care about the facts of this case. And the facts of this case support him and not the other person.
Right. It shows that those people are actually surprisingly unbiased.
Exactly.
Aside from Blake Lively, aside from Justin Baldoni, I think one person who is really worried about their public image in this whole situation is Ryan Reynolds. And now there is a rumor going around that Hollywood is turning its back on Ryan Reynolds, who once had this very pedicured image of being the Hollywood nice guy. That is getting shattered into a million pieces because of his unfortunate association with his own wife.
I never saw him as a Hollywood nice guy. I saw him as a guy who played exactly one type of character in every movie. Beyond that, I never thought of him as a Hollywood nice guy.
Well, to be honest, same, but I just had I just had an unfair assumption about him from the very beginning. I never liked him, and I don't even know if I could pinpoint why.
No, but me, the opposite side of that, like, I like him as an actor, and most of the time when he does those roles, he shows up in the corpo slop, and I'm like, great, that was fine. You did your job. But I never saw him as some, like, down-to-earth, Keanu Reeves type.
I think that was more maybe from the point of view of women who were a fan of their marriage. There are a lot of people who really idolized Blake and Ryan's marriage and their family life. And they were seen as this Hollywood power couple, an it couple that cheer each other on. And there were a couple stains, like the fact that they got married on a plantation, but you can apologize and move on from that and donate to BLM causes. Yeah. And no one will remember
They'll never forgive him for Green Lantern, but that's besides the point.
But the real issue here is not that he'll be seen as a big meanie jerk. The issue here is that people within his own industry don't see him as trustworthy and easy to work with anymore. So the rumor has it that the war between Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively has left the industry questioning Ryan Reynolds' carefully curated nice guy image. Inside sources also claim that Justin Baldoni's team has an ace up their sleeve, which suggests Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively pressured their own talent agency, WME, to drop Justin Baldoni at their behest. That's a claim that both WME and Blake and Ryan deny is true, but it's very clear with the timing of it all that when WME dropped Baldoni, it was their version of taking a side.
It is time for CAA to pick up Justin Baldoni right next to Joe Biden.
CAA picked up Joe Biden and who else?
I don't remember who
Joe
the other one was.
Manchin?
No. I think that said that they represented him at one point, and I was like, why does Joe Manchin have any type of representation at all?
Yeah, that's weird.
But what we need is Justin Baldoni to get involved with the Weekend at Biden's movie that he needs to be in himself, where Joe Biden plays Bernie.
It's his big comeback role.
Yep.
On Variety's website, the comments are mostly not about Blake Lively, but instead what the lawsuit reveals about Ryan Reynolds. One celebrity PR says to Daily Mail, "Beyond question, this has hit him very hard. If he isn't panicking about it, then he definitely should be. But I do hear that he is. It makes people doubt the authenticity of his nice guy image, and as he's been known for that for decades." They actually showed these paparazzi photos from a few days ago where Ryan Reynolds appears to be packing up the family for a vacation. Like they're out of here. They're going to be exiled to some other country.
I did see this photo of Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively, which was posted with a Hootie and the Blowfish song, which is an interesting choice.
Was that on his social media or hers?
Yes, his.
Okay, because I assume that she's gone dark.
It's on his Instagram story.
Got it. Given that the Nice Pool character based on Justin Baldoni doesn't exist in Marvel Comics, we're left to ask, would a nice guy really have created a character in order to mock his wife's co-star? This is playing very badly in Hollywood, where they take union representation and credits very seriously.
Oh yeah, like who gets we had this whole discussion the other day, like who gets cast for, who gets credited first, second, third, fourth,
There's
and
a whole,
credits.
Like, culture.
There's a whole
that.
it's tied to their contracts and their salaries, so it's very, very important.
So they credited in a pseudonym, Gordon Reynolds, with playing Nice Pool. And they also credited the same pseudonym of Gordon Reynolds to writing the iconic rooftop scene in It Ends With Us. And this was completely unknown to Justin Baldoni until months later when the internet
That's a true level of pettiness when they don't even care if he knows
it's like
about
psychotic.
it.
Like, they have such a weird obsession with this
It's not like they went out of their way to make sure he knew about it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that actually makes him seem even cooler.
Like, it was just for their own satisfaction.
He's like, wow, I didn't even know. They're like, I think about you all the time. He's like, I don't think about you at all.
Yeah. To make things worse, it appears that some of Ryan Reynolds' scripts were written in violation of the Writers Guild strike in 2023.
I imagine that, like, look, I'm not a Hollywood insider, but I'm sure that stuff is rampant.
Like, I'm sure it is, but now we have proof. I'm sure most of the time there was no way to prove it.
Don't worry, Pat the Plumber. I don't think this is going to affect your Mint Mobile account.
No. In fact, that's what's going to keep Ryan Reynolds' career afloat if he gets blacklisted. Yeah. But, yeah, Ryan Reynolds was very clearly violating the Writers Guild strike in 2023 when he was collaborating with Blake on the rooftop scene.
It'll be interesting to see whether this affects his star power in movie roles. He's kind of he doesn't need to really worry about it. I think he's so deep into the producer game now that he's kind of like a Mel Gibson. He can make whatever he wants and people might whine and cry. Yeah. But the people that are going to whine and cry against Mel Gibson are industry insiders. The people that are going to whine and cry about Ryan Reynolds would actually probably be the paying audience, if at all. I don't think he's going to ever have to worry about working. He's going to get plenty of work, but it may make some people hesitant to go and see his projects. But Hollywood platforms and hires plenty of despicable people. Somebody who just happens to be married to a woman who got into a bad PR battle doesn't even rate.
It takes a huge F up to reach the level of, like, Rachel Zegler unpopularity. Like, has Blake Lively reached that yet?
No.
Ryan Reynolds hasn't reached that.
It doesn't really matter for Blake Lively. They're not really comparable because Blake Lively is older and married to somebody. She doesn't need to work if she doesn't want to. Rachel Zegler's just at the start of her career.
Rachel Zegler needs to get married to someone with way more clout than her, like, real quick.
The point is that they're not really comparable. Like, Rachel Zegler's on the upswing trying to build a career. Blake Lively's playing side quests in her leisure time because she doesn't need to if she doesn't want to.
Yeah, the reason I wonder about that is just you can see that online discourse reaches a certain fever pitch where you start seeing it on the shelves at grocery stores.
What do you mean?
And that's when it...
Oh, yeah.
The normie consciousness would be affected by it at a certain point. And I do think that legal and PR battle between Blake and Justin has gotten to that point where normies have at least heard about it now.
Also,
maybe it might affect the perception of what they do next.
Maybe I'm crazy, but like the reputation of a person who insults the source material and fans is way worse than somebody who just proves themselves to be a over the top, self-centered Hollywood egotist, which is how people perceive them anyways.
Well, Blake had some of that pushback when she was promoting It Ends With Us,
but
because they were saying she was
parcel with being
trivializing. No, they were saying that she was trivializing the source material.
I'm thinking of Ryan Reynolds here, though. It's like the worst case scenario you can say for Ryan Reynolds here is he hitched his wagon to his wife, so he took his wife's side, which is what you would expect him to do anyways, and they tried to ruin another actor's life. Sad to say, but I think audiences care more if you're rude to them or insult their source material rather than you being mean to another actor. I see plenty of people in the comments are like, they're all rich losers. Like, who cares?
Well, it sounds like Justin Baldoni, if he was rich in the first place, he's not anymore.
Like, Ryan Reynolds is better off than your average person who screws up their career by dunking on fans and dunking on the material that they're supposed. Again, you cannot care about the material. You just can't hate on it. It's not that hard.
Well, in that case, maybe the right-wing support for Justin Baldoni is actually overstated, and people are more so making him into an avatar for someone who's falsely accused of sexual misconduct. But there was another string of text messages that was revealed on Justin Baldoni's website between him and Ryan Reynolds. And
I had that pulled up, but I got rid of it. Yeah, but we're basically like he never responds.
Justin Baldoni essentially reaches out to Ryan Reynolds wanting to be friends.
He's like, "Hey, bro,"
and he gets completely ghosted.
He's like, "You're not part of my clique.
Yeah,
you're not in.
He's not cool. He's not like Taylor Swift. Yeah. He's not like one of the dragons. So." You can't really get a text back. So Ryan Reynolds essentially ghosts Justin Baldoni, who's innocently reaching out to be friendly, because Blake had sent Justin's wife a friendly message, and he thought, let me return in kind so that we all have a respectful relationship. And Ryan Reynolds doesn't reply until many weeks later.
When he needs something.
When he needs a favor from Justin. And here is how he finishes off this very long response. He says... All this is to say, I would have your line producer's face tattooed to my perineum if he, she, or they can figure out how to start 2 weeks earlier. Completely understand how big of an ask this is, but the perineum is one of the most nervy parts of the human body to expose to trauma. So, looking forward to seeing you, and thank you again for all you're doing. I happen to adore you, Justin. XO.
Awful.
Who says shit like that to a complete stranger?
You can see it you can hear it in his voice too.
It's like, is he ever out of character? Who is the real Ryan Reynolds? Mm-hmm. Like, all we know about him so far is that he's clearly a control freak. Mm-hmm. He is clearly power drunk, and maybe he's earned the right to be both of those things. Yep. But it seems to be catching up to him, at least in the public perception of things. And unlike longtime friend of Blake's, Taylor Swift, Ryan Reynolds doesn't have the option to distance himself. And I just want to show this TikTok from Bethany Frankel talking about the reverberating consequences of a lawsuit like this for their industry. I find it really interesting.
Remember, I said that the tactic of Justin Baldoni's lawyers to include Taylor Swift in the lawsuit was nothing short of Machiavellian, because I knew that Taylor's name, her team would be like, we got a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, quote unquote, for me, and we don't want to be part of this at all. And now she is running for cover and leaving Blake for dead because they don't want any part of this. And That was a tactic. And I keep saying this is the craziest, by far, legal situation to ever hit the entertainment industry. The movie business has never experienced a lawsuit like this that has so many tentacles. It is crazy, and it is the fuck around and find out endless lawsuit. That lawsuit is longer than January, which is 3 years old. Remember
Okay.
And I think what she means there is it's the F around and find out of Me Too.
Yeah.
This is kind of the death blow, not only for Blake Lively's credibility, but also the credibility of Me Too in general.
I mean, maybe I'm crazy, but I just imagine Ryan Reynolds waits a couple of years and produces another movie. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the size and scope of this case has reached a point now where it will affect him. But I just imagine that he would be able to continue to act.
But if he testifies in a televised trial, for
he has to
everyone
talk
watch,
like this.
That's not gonna be good for him. I just want to say I never liked the cut of his jib.
There you go. And Mary was very offended when she realized that he was Canadian earlier. She didn't know he was Canadian.
Like, I didn't know I could dislike him more.
Yeah.
But I somehow do.
Well, they backed down on those tariffs in like 10 seconds anyways, guys. So, all right.
Let's see some super chats.
Let's do that.
Shane H. Wilder said, Happy Taco Tuesday, Brett and Mary. Mary, excellent discussion with Terry Schilling and Charles in the green room. It was preaching to the choir for me, but I still enjoyed going true dat every 5 seconds.
What was your favorite part of that discussion? What did you
well, all I learned about Terry Schilling before meeting him was that I heard he's a based Catholic. So I was like,
was that
okay.
True? Did he live up to that expectation?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
We had a lot of common ground on things like that. So it was interesting. We talked about surrogacy because it was just still on my mind.
From yesterday?
From talking about Lily Collins. So that was interesting. And we talked about the rhetorical tactics that can be used to kind of talk about these issues of gender. Okay. Because there are a lot of people in this like umbrella movement, this like coalition movement, who don't share a Catholic worldview on these issues of gender and sexuality. So I found it difficult to get common ground with them.
Okay. Let's do 2 more.
Quiet and Ari said, when are we deporting that frostback Ryan Reynolds? That's what I've been asking.
Look, they can have him.
Deport him!
If I can have the all-dressed chips and the ketchup chips. Now, the all-dressed chips have to be Ruffles, and the ketchup chips have to be Lay's.
Trade.
The ketchup chips have to be Lay's. The all-dressed chips have to be Ruffles, and we will trade them for Ryan Reynolds. He can come back on a work visa.
But they're like, we don't want him. Yeah. They don't even want him back. Deport Ryan Reynolds. Back to the north with you. Mm. Greg Duvier said, Olivia finally posted poof that Mocha is a naughty kitty. No justice for Mocha. You win, Brett. Did you get any cookies that day?
I did get cookies yesterday.
Proof, I believe you meant.
Proof, yes. There was video evidence of Mocha caught in the act stealing the butter.
I almost thought you were gonna say like literally in the cookie jar.
No. I mean, probably would if she could, but yeah, she got into the butter.
Oh. How is that even possible?
And she was thawing butter to make cookies.
I see.
So it was on the countertop, and I responded. I said, "This is unconscionable. Can't believe that this happened. It's disgusting." And when I got home, I said to Mocha, I said, This is why you don't get the pate an hour earlier at night. Now you get the pate an hour later at night.
This is abuse.
That cat lives so well though. So it's that's the worst part is that we treat the cat so well, and it goes behind our backs and tries to steal the butter.
Shane H. Wilder said, "Sorry guys, Sir Ranko and I were just defending the faith with all good intentions. No crusades are occurring. That is for IRL chat. JK, I avoid IRL chat."
Amen.
Well, I certainly hope there was no hostility going on. DC and C said,
do the one more, yeah.
How dare you call us nice? I'm toxic AF, yatards.
Okay.
You're
all right.
Okay.
Let's move on.
In case you missed it, Kanye West and his wife, Bianca Censori, decided that clothing is optional at the Grammys. They made their red carpet debut, and Bianca was very close to completely nude on the red carpet. And I learned later on that there were children present. This woman belongs in a jail cell. This woman should be locked up in a jail cell for indecent exposure.
Here is that.
This is a crime. You can see in photo evidence here. You can see in this photo, a literal child is staring at Bianca Censori, who is naked on the red carpet. And apparently Bianca is not going to face any consequences for this.
I laughed that they called it being censured.
She will not be censuried.
Is she a musician? Does she make music?
She's an architect. Everyone keeps forgetting that she has a really impressive career. I wonder why. Yeah, so TMZ reported that no one at the event raised any issue with Kanye's wife. Sources connected to event organizers tell TMZ that AEG officials and the Recording Academy had security on site when Kanye and Bianca showed up, but no one made any formal complaints about Bianca's display, and LAPD tells TMZ the Grammys are a private event and no one from the award show has contacted them with any complaints about how she was dressed or, I guess, not dressed.
I suppose the fact that it was a private closed event is why she's not getting, indecent exposure?
That doesn't mean that you're allowed to be naked in front of children.
I'm trying to explain what their logic is here.
That is literally not how the law works at all. Coverage of the award show was flooded with conversations about her appearance, and Entertainment Tonight mistakenly reported that Kanye and Bianca showed up uninvited with an entourage of 5 people and were then escorted out by security. They have since deleted the post. That was untrue. But I thought if they had been kicked out of the event, that would have been the right call, because there is no excuse for this. It wasn't just the children of performers and employees working the event who were present. Yeah. There were also recipients of the Make-A-Wish Foundation who were at the Grammys.
Guessing those weren't the wishes, because I don't think they would have granted those.
I certainly hope not. I certainly hope that wasn't the children's dying wish to see Bianca naked on the red carpet. They didn't know what they were getting into, apparently. And there was no warning from Kanye beforehand that this was going to be his big stunt. But he's clearly desperate for attention, as is Bianca, desperate for his approval and his money and his clout.
Where did she buy the dress? That's the real question. Did he make it himself? Did he make the see-through dress himself?
I'm assuming it's Yeezy.
I'm picturing him at a sewing machine making this himself before the show.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's his Yeezy brand.
Do you think he sews? Does Kanye know how to sew?
Probably not. Probably not. Megyn Kelly tweeted, "Raise your hand if you think if you showed up at the Grammys completely naked, people might pay you some attention. It doesn't make you seem special. It makes you seem crass, classless, and desperate." This is way worse than a Lauren Sanchez. I saw Lauren Sanchez getting more hate for showing her bra at the inauguration than I saw Bianca getting for being naked at the Grammys.
I mean, I felt like they got the same amount of attention.
Now Lauren Sanchez got way more flack for her bra.
I mean, the inauguration itself is a bigger event than the Grammys, which probably plays a role in that.
Yes, and I understand there's a difference between, an inauguration ceremony and the Grammys, which are basically already a degenerate hellhole.
Yeah.
You can't really go any further downward from Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion doing the WAP on stage. Yeah. But regardless, that doesn't excuse literal PDF file behavior. Like, this is that. Even just, the public people who were there at the event. Beyonce's daughter, Blue Ivy, she's a minor. She was present at the event. Yep. She had to see this. Does no one care about that?
20 there.
Sarah G said Make-A-Wish kids seeing her literal vajayjay is crazy. Yeah, it is crazy. And it's criminal. It's not just crazy behavior. It's criminal behavior. And if we lived in a sane society, Bianca Censori and possibly Kanye as well would be behind bars right now for this.
Is there a world where a guy does this and doesn't go to jail?
No, if Kanye walked out on the red carpet with nothing but tissue paper covering him, do you think that he would have been allowed to get away with that? No, I think that he would have been dragged away.
Yeah.
But they let Bianca get away with this because she's essentially seen as a handbag for Kanye.
Yeah.
She's like a human accessory for him.
Yeah, and I think it shocked a lot of people that it's shocking how not surprising this stuff is these days, that you can find something even more over the top and degenerate than what we usually expect. Literally, I'm sad to say, but my first thought was like, at least it's not Sam Smith in one of those like weird concerts that he would give, because that was way worse on the eyes to me. But that's just my personal opinion.
You know, I would honestly rather see Sam Smith
now
wearing a balloon than see this going on and this children like getting exposed.
Well, that part,
to this.
that part, yeah. But I'm saying like it's the time and place. Also, who else did we talk about? I mean, it has a lot to do with them. Like a lot of people have like or Sabrina Carpenter doing the shows that are suggestive in nature when they could be made 18 plus and they're not.
They're not just suggestive.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just straight up sex, like simulating sex on stage. That's not even suggesting anything. It could be if it were just her lyrics are somewhat spicy, but she's actually simulating sex acts very clearly on stage in front of 6-year-olds. You know, and people just have not a care in the world for the most vulnerable people in society. And that's really discouraging. And I also pointed out yesterday that it's disheartening to see Kanye go completely backwards on what he claimed were his morals and values as a Christian. He was publicly professing his faith all over the place, making Christian music and gaining all of these Christian fans.
Yeah. And
I don't know if I completely bought into it in the first place, but we can either be left to conclude that was a ploy for attention all from the start, or he has taken a drastic turn for the worse spiritually. There's only two conclusions to be drawn from that. And it's also sad to see him do things like this when he has been adamant about the destructive influence of pornography on young men.
I guess when I see an actor go through these types of phases, or an actor or a musician of any sort, where there's a level of reinvention to who they were, it's pretty common also in celebrities that get sober, right? I try to not place too much emphasis on it, even if it's somebody that's saying things that I agree with, because part of me is always hesitant to believe them because how much of it has to do with their bottom line. Part of it is how much do I want to believe it, because you should never place too much stock in what a celebrity says anyways. And the distance between you and that person via media coverage means that how much do you really see of this person's life? So I kind of never get let down. Like, doesn't matter who it is. Like, it could be the most... Like, we could find out tomorrow that the most popular nice guy celebrity is a monster, and it wouldn't faze me. I wouldn't care. Kanye falling back like this, I don't even know if I believe necessarily that he believed it himself. Like, and that doesn't shock me or even affect me in any way. It's like, if he lied about his faith, I would say he's part of showbiz. That's what people in showbiz do. That's not shocking to me. I get why it bothers people when these types of things happen, but the best thing you can do is always plan for the worst when it comes to somebody that suddenly starts saying things that you agree with, or this has professes beliefs that you also agree with. Or just
don't be like emotionally invested.
Just never
ever
get emotionally invested in any.
Sure, yeah, and I don't think I was either. I just thought, well, okay, if he's being genuine, that's a great thing for him and the people who are influenced by him. Mm-hmm. And now it's just gone completely downhill. It's, you know...
Who is it? Can you give me a... Oh, go ahead.
He admitted that he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, but he said it was a misdiagnosis and that he was being treated for a mental illness he claims not to have. Mm-hmm. But if that were true, he would be prone to bouts of mania. And there is such a thing as just a manic religious fervor that can take over for a long period of time. And maybe that's what he experienced. I don't know, but that's a possibility. And that would mean he was genuine, but he was also not.
Yeah. Well, no, it's not even that he wasn't genuine. It's that he was genuine but he faltered.
then, and he's genuine now, and that doesn't mean that he was lying before.
Correct.
And it doesn't mean that he's playing a different part now. It's like how he genuinely feels. But he's desperate to stay relevant, and he's using her as a way to deflect off of himself.
Yeah.
He's kind of using stunts with Bianca's appearance to take the focus off of him and his own antics and his own problems. Yeah. And people are going to be talking about her instead.
The best thing anybody can do is to not get emotionally attached to even the ones you really like. I saw Pat the Plumber mention, what if Keanu Reeves kicked puppies? Yeah. Don't let
be okay with that.
Be okay with the best celebrity you know becoming the worst person you've ever met, because you'll live a much longer, happier life if you don't care. Celebrate the good when you see it. Call out the bad when that comes as well, and take each situation as it comes, and you'll be a lot happier.
I have to do this with like other celebrities. Like I remember when Shia LaBeouf came out as like converting to Catholicism and had this interview with Bishop Barron about it and went into depth about loving the Latin Mass and all this stuff that I agree with.
Yeah. Do you find that happens to you more because your faith is something that's so like looked down upon by Hollywood? So you kind of the same way conservatives, anytime a regular Hollywood person says something not insane, like I like the cut of their jib, like just
Nicki Minaj is based.
Again, support it when they do it, and then don't be surprised when they don't live up to those expectations, because most people don't. We normally don't as human beings.
I even disappoint myself sometimes. So how would I expect Kanye West or Shia LaBeouf to live up to my expectations? It's not going to happen.
Every day I wake up, I look in the mirror, I'm like, damn, could do better.
Let's read the rest of these super chats. 200 Watt Studio said, I know Joss is a jerk, but a Buffy show without Joss is not Buffy.
I agree.
Well, honestly, I said the same things about Dan Schneider. If the extent of his allegations are about being a jerk, I don't blame him for being a jerk. If he did weird stuff with kids, I blame him for that. But adults need to be able to handle themselves in situations with other adults who might be jerks.
Well, Michelle Trachtenberg wasn't an adult when that stuff was happening. She was under 18. She was a teenager.
You're saying she was under 18, but Sarah Michelle Gellar was.
Sarah Michelle Gellar was an adult. It wasn't her that was that. I don't know what her comments have always been, but Charisma Carpenter was an adult at that time, and yeah.
Well, the weird thing about these industries is that it doesn't really matter. There are no boundaries between adults and children because they're all
supposed
colleagues.
to be, but it never seems to work out that way.
Allegedly, you're all equals because you're all colleagues. Yeah. And there's not a lot of distinction between the child actors and the adult actors, which makes everything go ass backwards. 200 Watt Studio said Buffy ended at the end of season 5.
Yeah, I mean, I've rewatched the first season of Buffy many times. I've only seen the show in its entirety maybe once. I might not have even finished 7. I don't know. I just know that I love.
You're not planning on it?
No.
I'm surprised.
Well,
actually, I'm not surprised because you love dropping off.
I love to drop off. Like, I'll watch a show.
You love watching a show for like 5 seasons and then going to get milk and cigarettes and never coming back.
Coming back, but starting over. Not finishing.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Not so secretly based. Oh, already read that one. Dull and tired. Being Human US version was so underrated.
I did not see. I never watched either the U.S. version or the UK version of Being Human, and that will upset Wesley until the day that we both die because he loves that show and he tried to get me to watch it. Eventually, I will get around to it.
You just dropped the dollar bill.
I caught it.
Sorenco Productions said Pedro Pascal for gay Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I mean, we didn't even.
Is he up to the task?
We didn't even talk about the Fantastic Four trailer today because it was fine.
That came out.
It was fine, and I watched it and I said I enjoyed this, and that was my only real thought. My only real thought was I enjoyed the focus that the narrative through line of the voiceover was about them as a family, and I enjoyed the retro futurist look. I thought it looked fine, and other comic book aficionados, obviously those deeper than me into that, didn't like Ben Grimm's voice. They thought it should be more gravelly, but that wasn't really a complaint that I had. I guess the first Fantastic Four movie was fine. I don't think I ever even saw the Michael B. Jordan 2015 Fan Four Stick, the one that everybody hates and says is the worst movie ever. But the first two were fine, but they're not considered like comic book masterpieces by any sense of the imagination. So a lot of people were saying like third time's a charm. Are they finally going to get it right? Technically, it's not even the third time because the first one got more than one film. But I did not see, unless somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, I did not see the Silver Surfer from this one. I did not see the female Silver Surfer. So.
Well, do you want to like focus on that tomorrow?
No, I don't know if there's, again, like if I was like a big Marvel person growing up, I would say yeah, but I wasn't really a big cosmic Marvel fan, so maybe I'll go rewatch I don't have HBO Max anymore. Ahoy, matey.
Disavow. Tacti Platy said, Brett, enough. You're a Zennial? Millennials sucks.
Yeah, I'm
an
on
X. That's not a zillennial, not to be confused with a zillennial, but a zennial.
In the chat, Pablo says David Hogg for new gay Buffy.
Oh yeah.
David Hogg looks like
David Hogg for new Xander.
In the picture of him, he looks like gay Trevor Wallace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know it's funny because we call you the crisis actors, but never has there been a more obvious crisis actor in some shape or form than him. Greg Duvier said, stop ruining my childhood. Don't reboot Buffy. It's my favorite show of all time.
How do you, I'm going to ask this to you then. How do you come down on the idea that remaking something ruins the original? Like if they continue it and then the continuation is bad?
It's like someone who refuses to grow up.
Does that ruin something for you? Like if they bring something back?
Always.
It does? Ruins it for you?
When has it not ruined something?
No, I mean, does it ruin your enjoyment of the original?
Oh, of the original?
Yes. No. Me neither.
No, but it definitely ruins... Like whatever they're trying to capture cannot be captured.
Yeah.
It's like... Yeah, it's basically the equivalent of someone who refuses to grow up, but in the form of a TV show. Like,
I see Olivia's in the chat. That's who suffered the worst because she doesn't like Buffy and I had to watch Buffy last night.
I don't like Buffy. Everyone get mad at me. I don't care. I don't like Buffy. I was forced to watch it. I hate it every minute. That's just my opinion. Greg Duvier said Xander is the best character. He was human and still was willing to put his life on the line for his friends that had powers.
Yeah, I mean, that was really what I think. Like, they did a great job in those first 2 episodes of really establishing his personality type. Remember, he shows up in the very fake scene at the beginning where he's supposedly riding a skateboard and it's really fake looking. And he runs into the railing. He's a doofus. He's stupid, but he's lovable and he still puts his life on the line. So there's some dichotomy there that makes for great storytelling. Can they do that today? Press X to doubt.
Tacti Platy said, wrong. My wife knew of Bullet Train before movie.
Damn.
Your wife doesn't exist. Pop Culture Junkie said the Electric State was a 2018 graphic novel subject to a significant bidding war for the movie rights.
Yes, that's what I remembered.
John Solis.
I mean, I thought it was like a full novel. I didn't remember it being a graphic novel, but I remember that it was based on some.
Well, they originally announced the movie using images from the novel,
and the images
making people think that the Russo brothers created those images. That is not the case.
And that was an amazing. I remember that. They
effed up.
I was like, damn, that's what that movie's gonna look like. I'm ready.
Nope. It's just shit.
There's a 20.
Cornell sent a 20. I think a lot of Ye's erratic behavior can be attributed that there is possible brain trauma from his terrible life-altering accident back in 2002. Not using it as an excuse, but I think his brain done broke a long time ago. Well, there's that, and then there's the brain trauma he suffered from abusing nitrous oxide.
He's also just an artist, and artists are weird.
And he's an artist, so he's already weird. There are a lot of reasons. John Solis said she's likely autistic. I
don't remember what we
recognize our own.
I think that was in regards to, the Millie Bobby Brown.
Millie Bobby Brown.
I think. You'll have, John in the chat, John Solis, you'll have to let us know, were you talking about Millie Bobby Brown? Like, I didn't see anything. That just seemed like attention deficit Zoomer behavior, not autistic behavior.
Yeah, she wasn't saying anything about, like,
if everything is autistic, then nothing is autistic.
Everything is autism now, isn't it?
It's not. It's not.
Yeah,
like,
have you noticed that, though?
Well, like that's another thing that Greg Owens pointed out. He says, like, guys really get into research hobbies, and they want to be left alone in their research hobbies. So if a guy wants to read everything about the Civil War or read everything about the Roman Empire and get really into it, and he doesn't want to talk to anyone until he's done, that's not autism. It's just guys.
It's also just having
curiosity
about the world. Yeah. Shane H. Wilder said, hey, I'm on Letterboxd. Then again, all my account says is if I liked a movie or not. I'm sure someone is upset with me on there for liking Garfield. LOL.
I really can't bring myself to sign up for Letterboxd.
You should get one.
Or even Criticless. I can get as far as to writing a very, very haphazard review on X, and that's the most
you have
an
IMDb.
Yeah, but I don't write reviews. I just add trivia. I added a great one last night that I thought I'd already added to an episode of Leverage, and I was really sad when I went to look at it. And I thought it was there, and it wasn't. But I was also then relieved because nobody else had got it. There was a Gone in 60 Seconds reference in the Boost Job episode of Leverage that nobody else had added there. So I did that for everybody else.
You're doing your public service
as
there.
I do.
I remember you said that you were looking at the trivia section and saw someone add I don't even remember what it was about. Someone added a piece of trivia and you were like, oh, that's really interesting. And then you saw that you were the one.
Yes, I don't remember which one it was. I was like, oh, damn, that was me. That was me.
Just falling in love with yourself.
Yep.
Shane H. Wilder, Hiroshima Otaru said, why is this Greek epic so diverse?
I mean, why is Cleopatra been race swapped? Yeah. Hollywood gonna Hollywood.
Good question. 200 Watt Studio said Elliot should do a film with Eddie Redmayne and play twin brothers. I don't want to see either of them ever again. Zach Yandel said, was that comments from In Praise of Shadows?
What?
I don't know what that refers to.
In Praise of Shadows, was that the dude who did the video on Wendigoon?
What?
It was like a film critic leftist who did this weird video about Wendigoon that ended up going viral because it was really bad or something. I never watched the actual video from In Praise of Shadows, but I watched people talking about it.
Mr. Joker said, don't you know who I am? I'm Charybdis, bitch. Is that how Nolan's going to write it?
That's exactly how he's going to write it.
Yeah. Shane H. Wilder said, you can't be a movie buff without being liberal. Well, I guess I'm not a movie buff. It's been a fun ride, guys. Time to pack it up and go home.
I mean, this story was going on yesterday. I even thought about bringing it up as a topic, but I haven't watched any of the Terrifier films. But the guy who was it Damien Leone, made a statement where he says, we have Republicans and Democrats working on our movies. These movies are for everyone, and we want everyone to enjoy them. And then all the liberals got really, really mad, saying that you can't support Nazis liking your movies. Of course, they take the most uncharitable tone to this, and yeah, it was really, really stupid. Go watch Midnight's Edge video on it. It's interesting.
Kenneth Hart said yesterday, Brett mentioned low season count shows. Some suggestions: Better Off Ted, Selfie for Mary, Boondocks, Eureka, Metalocalypse.
Eureka has 6 seasons. That's not low seasons. That's 6 seasons. I love Eureka.
3 or under is low.
1 is low.
Thank you.
2 at the most.
Worst week, Young Indiana Jones, all very watchable in current year.
Yeah.
Have you seen any of those?
No, I love Eureka. Eureka and Warehouse 13 are both fantastic shows, neither of which are low season. Eureka was 6, I think.
Debunked.
Yeah, but it's great. Colin Ferguson and Sally Richardson Whitfield.
Hello.
I mean, they did technically earn a free one from yesterday. I meant to set that off at the start of the show today.
Yeah. 200 Watt Studio said that Falcon scene looked lethargic AF. Looks like it's from the DVD gag reel.
It's so bad. So there's this part where Cap gets kicked to the ground, and then he like pulls up, and the camera switch, the angle is so bad, he doesn't even look like he's in the same place. That clip did more damage to me wanting to watch that movie than anything that Anthony Mackie said. Like, if that's something you're releasing as promotional material, it's in worse shape than I thought.
Shane H. Wilder said, is cringe dude trying to fly away?
Yes, he was.
He'll make it up there. Zach Yandel said, I love listening to y'all while I work out. Does this really, like, get you all pumped up?
Yeah, Brett's right.
Like,
Buffy can't be done well in 2025.
I feel like this is a pretty chill show most of the time. John Solis said the bigger flop for the Odyssey will be this DEI cast all speaking in a fake British accent for a story set in ancient Greece. They always do that, don't they? With the British accent, it just fits for everything.
Yeah.
200 Watt Studio said, see, I told you Ryan is now known as Cuckpool. He got emotionally cucked. Blake was clearly, into Justin and got rejected and had to lash out.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I don't want us to get copyrighted, but I want to find this clip where he switches angles on here. I'm gonna see if I can find it.
If it's from the movie, we're definitely.
If it's under 6 seconds, though, I don't think it'll matter. Like, as long as it's not it's when he gets up here, and then yeah. Okay, it's not even necessarily bad. It's just look at the angle, the way he switches shots here from. So he's pulling him over his shoulder, and then he, let's see if we get copyrighted. I apologize, guys, but watch this. It just looked horrible. Like, the shot is just terrible. The whole thing looks bad. I go watch it if you must, but it didn't make me excited to watch the movie.
Zach Hates YouTube said it was a reference to the first Avengers movie when Tony sees a guy playing Galaga on S.H.I.E.L.D.'s computers and calls him out in front of everyone.
Yeah, I've only seen the original Avengers maybe once or twice. I think I've seen Ultron once or twice. I've seen Infinity War way more times. It's always Iron Man. If I go rewatch movies, it's Winter Soldier, Civil War, and the original first 2 Iron Man movies. Those are the ones that I fall back on.
Shane H. Wilder said, damn it, Blake and Ryan, why are you two so unscrupulous that you are making me have empathy for a male feminist? Yep. I should sue for undue distress. I agree. I never wanted to be put in this position.
I mean, that's supposed to be...
Mint Mobile is owned by T-Mobile as of May 2024. Okay.
Well, he owns a soccer team now, right? He owns Wrexham or whatever. It's pronounced. It's probably pronounced something differently.
It's some British thing. Yeah. Alvin McGoth said, bleh. Thank you. Omega Red fan said, I feel like there are no winners in this love triangle. All 3 people have something embarrassing to hide. Just my opinion. I agree, and maybe more will come out, and we'll find out that Justin Baldoni isn't as reliable of a narrator as we thought. I'm open to that.
That doesn't bother us. That's just more content for us to talk about to you guys
the twists
about.
And the turns. It's like it's an emotional, legal roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's Galaga. Thank you, 200 Watt Studio. Did I say it wrong?
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. Wyatt Kaldenberg said, all this Me Too stuff is like the boy who cried wolf. He lied so much when a wolf actually attacked him. No one believed him. Me Too endangers women.
I was just watching a clip of Rob Lowe talking about how annoying it is that every election is the most important election of our lifetime. He's like, it is the boy who cried wolf. Like, literally every election, both sides are like, it's the end of the world.
It was probably 2016, if we're being real. If we're being real about which one was the most important of our lifetimes, it was probably that one.
I would say that 2020, because I believe that if Trump had won in 2020, that he would not have had he wouldn't have gone scorched earth the way he has in 2024. He has been slighted so much in those 4 years after the 2020 election that it put him on a far different path than he was on prior if he had just won in 2020.
Pop Culture Junkie said, you folks have any sense that your appearances on IRL drive new folks to PCC? Right after that, Dingus Khan said, just wanted to shout out, you have hit 350K subs.
We are very excited about that.
Apparently, yes. The answer is yes. I don't know. It's hard to tell sometimes. But
so the thing is I used to not think that. At least especially with mine. I think when Mary goes on, it definitely drives traffic. But in general, I never saw a lot of people saying, like, I'm here from IRL, but we have put up like polls saying like, how did you find us? And I was actually surprised by the amount of people that said they came from seeing an appearance on IRL. So it's not to be discounted. I just look, every time I do IRL, I worry that I'm either going to derail the conversation, which does happen, or like, then they get mad when you don't talk enough. So you never know what to say. Right? Like, sorry, I'm not talking about China's influence on the trade economy right now. Like, I'll let other people talk about that.
That's mostly what I did last night. Shane H. Wilder said, they do this around kids because they are the easiest to corrupt. They all deserve to be in jail. Ho jail. I'm gonna run it.
We need to...
Pat the Plumber said, as long as I don't hear bad stuff about my hero, Brett Dasovic, things will be fine. Your hero?
Well, that's me.
Oh, high praise.
Gonna have my own superhero movie one day. Short Man.
Sarah G said, I like Brett more than Mary.
That's rude.
He's taken, ladies.
I see Olivia's in the chat. Yes.
Oh, something's gonna happen. Shane H.
Wilder. Throw hands.
Yeah, exactly. Shane H. Wilder said UK being human over US. Human?
That tends to be from what I've heard from everyone else. Who I don't remember who it was earlier that said that they preferred the U.S. version, but from everybody else, maybe it's just like a superiority thing. But everybody else is like, oh, you have to watch the UK version. You can't watch.
Everyone says that about The Office.
You can't watch the American version. You have to watch the UK version.
Tacti Platti said, my wife is pregnant. I certainly hope she exists. I'm just kidding. Sarah G said, I like how Brett says haphazard.
Do I say haphazard? Did I use that in a sentence today?
I don't know.
Haphazardly?
I don't remember. Shane H. Wilder said, Brett, if you signed up for Letterboxd, I'd follow you to see what you had to say. The only two people that follow me are Bertman and Chris Carr. LOL.
Chris Carr does do some nuclear movie reviews. Chris Carr is who I wish I could be, but I'm not smart like Chris Carr, so I'm just kind of dumb.
Instead of a Letterboxd, I just have a folder in my notes app where I just write down movies I liked.
I do have
in no particular order.
I do still have all of them. Maybe I'll post them one day because they're without context. It would be hilarious. I still have all of the digital notes that I've taken for every movie we've ever reviewed.
Oh, you didn't delete those? I've deleted all of them.
No, those are still on my phone. But
you take better notes than me, though.
Between all of like the spelling shorthands, it wouldn't make sense to anyone. But
Chendro83. Sorry if I said that wrong. Joss Whedon screamed at Charisma for not aborting.
She was pregnant. Yeah.
So did she leave the show because of that, or what happened?
No,
there?
I don't remember what happened, but she did not leave. She eventually went to work on Angel after the show spun off.
Okay. 200 Watt Studio. Already read that one. I think we're all caught up.
Is that everything? All right, guys. Before we go, would you hit the like button on this video and subscribe to this channel if you have not subscribed here yet already, guys? I got to fix the party number there. We hit 3 today. Hold, please. Oh, not that one.
What's up?
There we go. All right. Hit the like button on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Remember, if you do want your pets featured on PCC Pets, tag me and the show in there at Brett Dasovic and at popculture_show with the hashtag PCC Pets, and we will try to get them featured on there. Everybody wants to show off their pets.
You can send me validation on Instagram at MaryArchived, or you can send me hate on X. That is also MaryArchived.
Perfect. Guys, you want to follow me again, Instagram and Twix, at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. We're here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is noon Pacific. Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify if you would like to listen rather than watch. You can rate and review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Those help the channel a lot, so please go ahead and do that if you can. And if you follow the show on social media, we are on Twix, at PopCulture_show, Facebook, at Pop Culture Crisis, Instagram, at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. One more there.
200 Watt Studio said Whedon fired Charisma.
That's rough.
Fired her for being pregnant?
And then she got killed off on
Wait.
On Angel.
He fired her for getting pregnant?
Yeah.
Is that what happened?
I would have to go back. It's been so long since I've read that case.
That's illegal, though. Another from Shane H. Wilder. Brett, Carr has some extreme movie reviews. He'll have a diatribe about why he disliked a movie, and I'm just like, I thought it was fun.
Yeah, but see, here's the beauty of it, though. So he does. The thing is he's very fiery, passionate about the things he likes and things he doesn't like. But he sent me a message once where he's like, I rewatched Heat and I changed my mind. It's actually a good movie, and I was filled with validation because he had changed his mind. And as somebody who's very strong-willed and has strong opinions, knowing that he changed his mind about a movie that I consider my favorite movie of all time, that meant a lot to me. So
that's sweet.
Yes. All right, guys. We will be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see y'all then. Bye everyone.